Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with you guys for another video talking about some nursing school stuff. I finished my first semester of nursing school last week, which is crazy. I can't believe I'm already done with a whole semester of nursing school. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about what to expect from your first semester, kind of like how my first semester went. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment down below. I will literally answer any question that you guys have, or message me on Instagram. It honestly makes my day when I see someone commented, so definitely do that. Also follow me on Instagram so that way you guys can message me on there if you want to. Before we get into this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers right now, and I think I'm actually at like 60. So yeah, just consider doing that. And with that being said, I will just jump into this video. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is just my classes for the first semester. So for my first semester, I had 4 major classes. So I had my assessment class, I had my fundamentals, I had pathophysiology, and then I had my clinicals. So that was the only 4 classes that I had this semester. Most people take pharmacology in their first semester. I didn't. I take pharmacology in my second semester. So we'll just start with my assessment class. So assessment is basically just teaching us how to assess a patient. So it's more of like a basic class. I really liked it actually. It wasn't too hard, only because for the exams at least, I feel like the exams weren't super hard. Some of the material that we were covering was a bit more complicated, only because we had to switch to online. So I want to kind of put that out there when I'm talking about my classes. Just keep in perspective that I was switched to online about halfway through this semester, so I kind of missed out on some of that interaction that I would have been required to do if the school had stayed open. So I definitely missed out on some learning opportunities, I think, because of that. But my teachers worked really hard to try to make it as normal as possible and make sure we were still getting the same learning experiences. So like for that class, we only had a few exams. We had a lot of virtual like simulation stuff. And then for like our final, we had to do a full physical assessment on a patient, or not on a patient, but on like our friend as if they were a patient. And originally we were supposed to do it on a partner at school, but because everything got switched online, I ended up doing it on my roommate. So that was just a little different. The one thing I did notice that was a little weird about that was when we were like at the school, when you would do an assessment, you would have like your friends that were able to be like, hey, like don't forget this, or like why don't you do it this way? It makes it a little easier, versus doing it on someone that doesn't know anything about nursing. They can't give you any pointers, so you're kind of on your own. So that's like the one sucky thing about like this whole coronavirus thing, is I felt very like isolated, and it was very difficult to kind of get information. In the end, it all worked out. So that was my assessment class. The next one that I'll talk about is my fundamentals class. So fundamentals is kind of just what the name implies. So it's just like the fundamentals of nursing. It's more of like a general class. So for that one, that's where I really noticed nursing questions, where they really came up for me. Just the way that the questions were worded and how you had to really think differently to answer the questions. For me personally, I was able to understand and answer those questions pretty easily. They didn't throw me off too much. I just kind of had to think about them a little longer, but I definitely understand why some people struggle with them. So for nursing classes, if you guys have ever like looked into this, but there tends to be a lot of select all that apply, which to me is the most difficult questions. But for my Nurse 10 class, my teacher did a lot of like select all that apply, but she'd give us the number of select all that we had to do. So that was kind of a good way to introduce us to those questions. And then in the future, obviously we won't have that anymore, but it was really helpful to kind of give us like, okay, there's 6 different choices, 3 of them are correct. Which 3 are correct, versus looking at all 6 and being like, whoa, I don't know. So I thought that was really helpful. Overall, the class was really fun. It was really interesting. There was a lot of like time for like collaboration, stuff like that. It talks mainly about just like the patient, so like, and that class is combined with our gerontology, so it's mainly focused on older patients, but they do bring into account like just a normal like health, like normal adult, and stuff like that. But yeah, I really liked it. It talked about like death and dying, spirituality, what's another one? Like health, stuff like that. Yeah, it was a really interesting class. I really liked it. And then the last like actual lecture class that I had was pathophysiology. Everybody has to take patho. I'm sure everybody hears the horror stories about patho. If I'm being 100% honest, I did not think patho was that terrible. To me, I actually struggled more with my fundamentals and assessment class, only because it was very new stuff to me. So I had to get used to that kind of test taking and just that kind of learning, versus patho to me was very similar to like my anatomy physiology classes. It's just learning about diseases the same way that I would learn about the physiology. So I didn't struggle too much in that class overall. The exams, not gonna lie, are definitely much harder than my physiology class or my anatomy class. The exams I think overall were harder, but the material as a whole wasn't hard for me to comprehend, just because I had known some of it already. Spent one lecture talking about like blood disorders, but I already knew most of them from my physiology class. So I don't know if it was just because my physiology teacher was very informative, or what exactly that was, but for me, I didn't think it was too bad. Just really like putting the time in to study and understand the material, you should be fine. So I just wanted to like put that out there for anybody that hears all the horror stories of pathophysiology. It's definitely hard, but it's not the end of the world either. And then the last class that I had was obviously my clinicals. So like I said, my first semester we focused on gerontology. So I was at my city's VA. I only got to go to the clinical one time, which was really sad because of all the COVID-19 stuff, which was a big bummer, because in the first 6 weeks they actually have us at our nursing resource center at the school. So when everything was still open and everything was fine, I was just at the nursing resource center and then went to the clinical site once, and then everything kind of happened that next week. So that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, I think I learned the most from clinicals overall. When I like look at all the stuff I learned, I just feel like I learned the most from that. Even just going to the nursing resource center, I had a really, really good clinical teacher. He really just let us kind of do our thing and just get used to talking to our patients, which is our friends, and just get used to the terminology and doing med passes and just doing it over and over and over again. It just really got me comfortable. It just stuck in my brain. So I feel like that was where I learned the most this semester, which is really a bummer that I got kicked out of the clinical site, because I feel like I could have learned a lot this semester, and so it's a real bummer that kind of missed out on that opportunity. But you know, such is life, I guess. So also comment down below if for your school, if you get to go to a clinical site your first semester, because I know some schools you're actually just at like your school for the first semester, and then second semester is when you officially get to go to the hospital. I guess that's what I'm doing because we kind of got kicked out of the hospital because of everything. My group was amazing. Everybody in it was awesome. So next section that I want to talk about was just some random like questions that I feel like I would get from other people that were trying to get in the program, or just people that just random things that people like kind of would say to me. So the first thing is nursing school hard? Yeah, I always think that question's funny. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's school and you're learning how to like take care of people. Like, it's so yeah, nursing school is hard. It's not impossible. I think the main thing that you need to do is focus on making friends that are able to like help you out when you are confused, and just forming connections with the faculty, and be comfortable being confused and being okay asking questions. It's definitely a hard major. Next question that I feel like most people ask is like, oh, well, like, obviously, like, you don't have a social life because of this. No, but I didn't before. I pushed myself a lot in my prereqs because I knew that I had to have good grades to get into the program. So I haven't had much of a social life in the past 2.5 years, so that didn't really change when I got into the program. I think the most important thing is just you have people in your life that you can't live without, and you have people that you're okay not seeing all the time, and just realize that real friends are gonna like stick by you no matter how often you're able to hang out with them. I hope that does make sense. Like, I obviously hang out with my roommate because we live together, but if I didn't live with her, we wouldn't be able to see each other that often. But that doesn't mean we wouldn't be friends. So if you have friends that aren't gonna like you anymore because you're in nursing school, maybe they're not your real friends. Like, make friends in the nursing program instead. Social life, it's not gonna be gone, but you do have to prioritize hanging out with your friends on a Saturday or studying for that exam, and then being able to hang out with them the next weekend. The last one I just thought was like interesting. I saw someone else mention this at the end of the semester when my teacher said, what's one word to describe nursing school? That one's like really hard because there's like a lot of words I could use. I want to say adventurous, just because it's literally an adventure and you have to like be willing to embark on it, and it's going to be a rocky road ahead, but it's going to be the best outcome in the end. Finally, I wanted to share some tips with you guys on what I've learned this semester and things that I'm going to be taking into consideration for my second, third, fourth, all my semester. First thing is staying organized. I definitely am more of an organized person overall, but I feel like I became more organized just from this semester. I have officially fallen in love with Google Calendar. I have been using that thing like nonstop, especially once we moved online. My motivation kind of went down the toilet because I was stuck at home. I couldn't leave. I couldn't see anybody. So I had my Google Calendar to remind me of when I had Zoom sessions, when I needed to do assignments, just to kind of keep my brain awake and alert so that way I wasn't failing my classes. So yeah, just staying organized in whatever way that is. If it's taking papers and writing out your schedule for the day, if it's having a whiteboard, if it's having a Google Calendar like me, just figure out how to stay organized and stay on top of your work. The next one is just be open and taking risks, especially once you get to the clinical site. For me, like my professor or my clinical instructor, he let us just like do things the first day. Like I was able to do a glucose shot, I was able to do a blood test, like a blood glucose test. I was able to, like I said, I administered insulin. I was able to like talk to my patient, and I was able to get like my hands dirty and like do things. And I'm really glad that I did, because that next week I wasn't able to go back. So you really just have to think about it like that. Just think about it in the like mindset of like, if I can't get back into the hospital, I want to make sure that I've learned as much as I can to feel comfortable this semester. And obviously when I went my first week, I did not expect that to be my last week, and so I was very timid. I was a little scared the first couple like hours into my clinical rotation, but I did try really hard to like get in there and do stuff, and I'm really glad that I did, because I have friends that were in different clinicals that just didn't really get to do anything their first day, and that was their last day of their first semester, and we're going into second semester with very little first semester knowledge. So be willing to take risks and just go. Like if you have a nurse or your teacher says, who wants to help me with this, your hand needs to be up first. Like you need to just do it. Group study sessions. I feel like everybody says group study sessions are the best. Group study sessions are how you pass nursing school, to an extent. So for me, I had some friends that would do group study sessions, and they didn't know the material before they got there, so it was a lot more of people arguing over the correct answer and less discussing the correct answer. When you're doing group study sessions, you're with the right people and you have at least looked over the material and you're comfortable-ish with the material before you get there, because you're just wasting each other's time if you're just there flipping through books trying to find the correct answer to the study guide or to the practice test. Keep that in mind when doing group study sessions. They are very helpful. You have to just be careful that you're not just going there to talk, and you're going there prepared and ready to discuss the content. And then finally, practice self-care. I used to be really bad at this when I was in my prereqs. I would literally focus on anything other than myself, and that really like put a lot of stress on my body, and it wasn't good for me. So just however you would practice self-care, for me it would be filming a video, or editing a video, or taking pictures, or even just relaxing and watching Netflix. For somebody else, it might be reading a book. Yeah, just figure out what works for you and go for it. Don't put nursing school ahead of everything else. You need to put yourself first, and nursing school is like right behind that. Okay guys, so that is all of my tips and all of my like experiences for my first semester. Again, if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. I 100% missed stuff that you guys probably have questions about. So yeah, just definitely leave questions and comments, and like and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.